fantastic mochaccino, ada tiramisu 11, ada juga avocado delight dan juga groovy cookie yang paling terbaru. Ini adalah originale cappuccino.
Agak bedok ya. Agak bedok karena ini udah nemenin buat kalau pusre ini.
Coba kalau lu ngopi gimana, Riz?
Coba ahnya Depok gimana? Ahnya Depok.
Coba.
Pakai ahnya Depok gimana coba?
Ahnya Depok ya?
Coba ya. Kan biasanya kalau ngopi kan. Depok habis. Kalau Bogor.
Ya, teman-teman ya. Woman.
Udah diem. Agak beda ya. Tapi langsung aja kalian cobain juga sebotol good day yang paling pas untuk bikin momen mabar kalian jadi lebih gigi good day. Gigi semua udah ini malah kita ya langsung ya. Nah, yang ini kecintaannya.
Riz, tolong Riz ya. Jangan lu samain sama season lalu.
Ada ini ya.
Aman nih, sekarang aman lihat nih.
Season lalu nih ya.
Season lalu.
Apalagi buat Farid yang jauh banget dari Depok sini kan. Nah, ini kan
yang kuat.
boleh.
Wih, muha.
Ada ini tepuk kita.
Oh iya, oke. Kamu tunjukin dong.
Nah, ini
Alfrigo.
Cocok buat Nino.
nganterin ke
Kenapa buat bulan jadi? Bagus.
Kecil.
bagus. Dan itu bisa dicopot pasang tuh depannya.
Depannya
bisa
ya?
dipasang kaca juga ya. Bahkan bagian dalamnya bisa dicopot pasang juga kalau misalnya mau dicuci.
Ini cocok banget nih buat aku sampai sekarang kalau karena kan aku sering puncak kan.
Night ride.
Puncak naik motor tuh, wah mantep.
Romantis banget ya bapak-bapak satu ini.
Ya, masa pernikahan tuh harus dijaga keromantisannya ya.
Dan tetap kece.
Tetap kece, apalagi gini ya ampun. RSU ada Evos nggak ya?
Ada.
Saya kan Evos pak.
Pokoknya mau cek langsung aja di marketplace favorit
Bener,
kalian. Cek
teman-teman.
sekarang karena get yours now only on RSP Helmet official marketplace. Nih, berarti abis ini Bang Gabriel langsung ke MPL Festival karena ada di depan juga.
Nah nanti saya mungkin milih antara Liquid atau Bigetron. Karena cepet.
Pulangnya. Oke, menarik banget ya. Jadi buat teman-teman yang langsung pengen koleksi silahkan tuh. Boleh banget, banyak pilihan juga kan
Boleh.
di sana. Dan sekarang ini ada petualangan baru yang nanti
Ini cocok banget untuk saya dan Raceboy. Emang kayaknya saya dihadirkan di sini ya.
sengaja ya.
Sengaja gitu loh. Karena kita emang bener-bener player MCGG banget.
Awal-awal juga.
Parah.
Aku mau main, kamu mah. Aku juga main. Masih epic ya.
Pokoknya teman jangan lupa login karena udah masuk ke season yang kedua. Blessing of Ember itu udah hadir. Ya mungkin buat teman-teman kalau misalkan emang berharap Blessing Summoner kayak Raceboy silahkan login sekarang juga.
Blessing.
Iya, reset blessing bisa.
Siapa di sini yang hobi ngumpulin Hanabi bintang 4?
Itu kalau misalkan di level mythic Hanabi bintang 4 bakal tersingkir.
Iya. Betul.
Tidak ada apa-apanya.
Tidak ada apa-apanya, makanya sekarang udah lebih unik dan menarik. Jadi tunggu apa lagi teman-teman, langsung aja kalian cek line up favorit, banyak banget juga yang direkomendasikan. Itu langsung login sekarang juga. Go!
Coba kalau Bang Gabriel apa ininya?
Apanya?
Sekarang favorit ini
Sekarang,
ya,
saya.
sinerginya.
Commander dan
Oh
juga
enggak ada Commander sinergi satu.
Commander favorit antara One Amon. Satu.
Bisa
Amon lah.
antara Amon. Terus
Pokoknya aku bakal main ke Assassin antara Astro atau Weapon Master. Karena di sejarah kita baru dengar kemarin
apa
bahwa
lagi nih?
Belanda datang ke Indonesia itu
Iya.
tidak mencari biji kopi tapi cari biji Astro.
Biji Astro yang dicari sama Belanda.
Ternyata selama ini Astro.
Konon katanya.
Orang katanya.
Lama
Kan
banget
dongeng.
tapi memang mahal sih.
Kan dongeng. Coba
Coba
Rizboy.
berarti.
Kalau gua MCGG, M-nya itu Moskov.
Oh, wow.
Sakit
C-nya,
banget kalau
C-nya.
ngebang.
C-nya apa C-nya? Terus apa? C-nya MPL card. Terus
iya.
apa? Duduknya ini
C-nya
seru seperti itu.
Ah, ini.
Dibaksa ya.
Ini udah waktunya.
Udah waktunya. Brewek.
Akhirnya saya brewek.
Kita boleh semua nggak? Sabar.
Gue boleh
Kasih
berharap.
tahu dulu ini apa. Coba. Kasih tahu dulu, jangan main
Jadi ini
brewek
adalah
aja.
player card resmi pertama MPL Indonesia teman-teman, seri Nirvana. Lihat nih, ya, udah tersedia, bisa dibeli. Kalian bisa datang aja ke booth offline MPL Festival teman-teman. Karena koleksi ini, saya lagi mencari kembaran saya.
Siapa?
Kairi.
Dari Bogor.
Iya.
Dan ini ya pastinya ada banyak banget ya tier-tiernya yang bisa kalian dapetin, tier C, tier B, tier A, tier super sampai tier premium. Nah, official. Betul. Tanda tangannya.
Ini mungkin pada terkejut semuanya karena aku dapat Rookie of the Season, My Kids, yang baru aja tadi di game kedua bermain dengan Link dan menang RDG. Dan terakhir, aku ternyata punya kartu yang kayaknya semua orang akan iri untuk punya.
Apa tuh?
King Moskov.
Wah,
Erlan.
mau tuker sama Kairi nggak?
Oh, yang mana? Yang mana tadi? Yang mana?
Erlan dong. Oke.
Gernya di gua.
Oh, gernya di lu.
Oh, di lu.
Oke.
Oke, boleh. Aul.
Pertama punya Widi.
Widi.
Pak Guru Widi.
Aduh.
Nah, terus ada Safero,
Oh,
ada
San.
ada Aether,
Hai.
dan yang terakhir baru pulang. Ya,
Ya.
itu nih. Sabar ya Paris ya.
Oke.
Kita mau lihat dulu katanya audiens ada yang
Nah,
nge-brewek.
gernya terakhir.
Kita terakhir.
Oke.
Sabar ya, kita lihat nih.
Ayo dibrewek.
Nah, apakah ini akan ada hoki setahun kepake? Langsung aja Kak dibuka. Brewek.
Asik.
Dari depan dulu Kak, kita lihat ya.
Siapa nih? Dapat siapa nih?
Soalnya kita berarti nggak dapet A ya?
Sabar dong.
Sabar.
Oh, Paris nggak mau ngasih lihat
Kan
ya?
dibilang gernya di sini.
Oh iya. Coba Kak, paling depan Kak.
Paling depan.
Oh, siapa tuh?
Maybe.
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 Lanjut.
Ya kan? Lanjut. Ada siapa tuh?
Oh, Eman. Sampai gemeteran ya.
Oh, Eman.
Brewek. Eman. Wih, katanya.
Wih. Next ada
Lanjut
siapa
Kak,
tuh?
lanjut. Oni.
Multimoni. Wah, tuh kakaknya aja nggak nyangka tuh. Aku dapat Oni katanya tuh.
Oh, dapat lagi.
Lutfi. Satu lagi siapa? Banyak
Yang
lagi.
paling bagus.
Jeng.
Oh, dapat Navi.
Ini X-Magic ya?
X-Magic.
Dapat dari
Wah.
Navi.
Congrats,
Oke.
Kak.
Mantap, terima kasih.
Terima kasih sudah
Coba.
brewek sama kita.
Coba gernya. Aku
Coba
penasaran.
gernya apa dulu ya?
Gernya dong. Coba gernya mana? Gernya mana?
Karena aku mau samaan kayak kakaknya, aku
Iya.
juga mendapatkan X-Magic.
Wih, nyambung.
Bisa.
Ini dari awal ger nih.
Oh, iya.
Oke,
Dua,
lanjut.
sap. Maybe.
Maybe sama.
Maybe.
Langsung beda.
Oke.
Itu B ya TNP.
Iya,
ya?
B.
Ini siapa? Sap.
Maybe lagi.
Maybe lagi.
Kalau
Oke.
bartender anak muda yang mekaniknya tinggi.
Oh
Oh
iya.
iya. Make sense.
Ini kalau lolos nih.
Kok gitu?
Sabar dong. Coba yang terakhir. apa?
Ini bro, timnas gue mendapatkan tim.
Oh.
Liquid
Boleh.
ID.
Keren.
Boleh dibuka lagi nggak sih?
Sabar ya.
Sabar.
Nanti
Global
match
Studio
kedua.
Ah,
Nanti match
Global
kedua lagi
Studio.
ya. Tuh,
Ini
nanti
top
kita
global
brewek.
studio make it nih. Ini baru. Buat ini
Ntar
nih.
kita brewek lagi ya.
Oh, ntar ya.
Sabar.
Asik.
Yang paling muda siapa tapi yang lagi semangat yang bapak-bapak gitu ya.
Nah, itu dia Nevin yang malahan kita cari-cari.
Iya,
gitu.
jelas.
Kebetulan
Kan?
kecil kita kurang bro.
Baru.
Sekarang.
Makanya dipuaskan dengan tentunya skin Naruto.
Oh iya.
Yang bisa kalian dapatkan sekarang juga ya kan.
Adik-adik,
Jangan sampai
nanti dulu ya,
ketinggalan.
adik-adik ya.
Lah,
Main gambaran.
makanya jangan sampai ketinggalan teman-teman, karena daripada teman-teman menyesal seperti saya, karena saya udah punya semuanya. Skin Naruto ada, skin Sakura ada, skin Hayabusa ada,
Oh,
terus skin Sasuke. Ya apalagi sih
Kalian
kalian ada semuanya.
gara-gara
Gara, nah itu doang yang nggak punya. Saya cuma nggak punya Gara doang teman-teman ya.
iya. Tapi banyak kan ada interface matchmaking juga.
Ada, gampang kecil saya punya.
Ah,
Loading screen dua-duanya saya punya.
iya.
Semuanya saya punya
Terus kelihatan sultan tuh ya.
Iya.
Ya emang kami juga nggak punya ini pasti.
Wah ini mah emang saya semuanya juga belum.
Belum rilis Bang.
Jadi jangan lupa teman-teman ya, 3 hari setelah nanti adanya babak playoff ini selesai,
Yep.
teman-teman bisa login dan dapatkan hero baru Wizard. Ini dia nih. Ya di mana hero ini kebetulan kalau saya nggak salah baca, itu datang dari Kadir Riverlane juga. Jadi mungkin buat teman-teman para user match yang suka hero-hero mekanik ini cocok banget.
Mekanik banget.
Terasa
mekanik
terpanggil.
banget.
Temannya Loi gak sih? Terasa terpanggil kan jadinya ya. Mekanik. Lu main aja Minotaur kan
Kita lebih lihat ya kalau ngomongin midlane mekanik Nevin dong.
Kan hero powernya Minotaur doang.
Iya, hero dia Minotaur.
Gue tadi pengen ngomong Piu, terus dia ngomong saya dong.
Ya, aduh.
Ya.
Dari Q ke
Ah
ini
enggak,
ya.
soalnya aku lebih dekatnya ke Super Friends sih kebetulan. Enggak, lu belajar dari sini dulu dah nih. Oh iya sama Santi.
Nah, sama ini nah, buat temen-temen juga ya, Alsar semakin seru. Mulai dari tanggal 27 Juni sampai dengan 5 Agustus berarti ya. Teman-teman bisa ikuti patch Dino waktu terbatas di MLBB. Hadapi Roar. Itu terusnya Roar gitu. Sang Lord Sang
Pterosaurus.
Pterosaur. Saya emang gak hidup di zaman dinosaurus.
Oh, iya.
Pterosaur.
Iya.
Jadi teman-teman bisa mendapatkan hadiah eksklusif seperti border avatar terbatas. Dan teman-teman bisa ikutin event ini dengan tentunya mendapatkan skin gratis Popol Kupa. Yang tentunya bisa login di tanggal-tanggal yang saya bilang.
Kenapa harus mendapatkan skin Popol? Karena Popol dan Kupa adalah
Sahabat terbaik di dunia. Atau karena untuk menggendong
Untuk 4 orang bodoh.
Karena kata-kata Popol banyak teman
Iya.
ya. Siap mengaum.
Asik, Popol dan Kupa. Tapi yang gak kalah seru juga pastinya untuk kalian semua bisa ngedapetin tiket playoff kalian sekarang juga di website resmi MPL. Karena kapan lagi kalian bisa menonton secara langsung, ngerasain euforianya di sini, ngelihat juga banner-banner yang udah luar biasa banget tuh yang baru dipasang juga ya. Di sekeliling Jakarta International Velodrome. Jadi sebelum itu mending beli sekarang juga. Masih ada match selanjutnya masih bisa.
Betul.
Masih ada 2 hari
Dan
lagi.
jangan lupa ada MPL Festival juga.
Benar.
Kalian bisa seru-seruan di sana. Apalagi banyak banget activity. Ini Om lagi bagi-bagi hadiah nih.
Iya.
Bagi hadiah. Radit juga pasti lagi bagi-bagi hadiah. Ada watch party
Betul.
juga. Dan buat teman-teman ya tentunya saya butuh laut padan bareng sama Rainbow buat di NK. Jadi tolong.
Laut padan ya? Oke.
Laut padan.
Kita tag team berdua lawan mereka.
Iya ya,
Karena
boleh.
gini Nevin, kalau di ranked
Hah?
nyari lawan padan tuh susah banget. Karena kayak ya elah gitu. Ya elah gitu.
karena kita emang belajar itu di custom.
Oh iya.
Ada aku sukanya sama MCNC ya, berarti kan levelnya turnamen.
Bener.
Kalau ranked ya
Oke, berarti kita harus datang ke Jakarta International
Harus.
Velodrome semuanya ya teman-teman. Karena sebentar lagi juga kita akan masuk dalam match selanjutnya nih, match kedua, 1 tiket Grand Final.
MSJ.
loh, ini udah bakal siap-siap ya teman-teman ya. Jadi pegangan untuk para Sonic dan juga Kingdom.
Betul.
Karena kalian akan menjadi saksi nantinya siapa yang akan mendapatkan tiket pertama untuk MSC.
Ya, maka dari itu kita akan kembali dalam beberapa saat lagi. Stay tune terus di MPL IG Playoff Season yang ke-15.
Halo Nick PH.
Stay tune.
Halo tim Nick PH.
Saya OTW.
Halo.
Kembali lagi di MPL Festival melaporkan langsung pastinya Alisa di sini lagi ada di boothnya One Play karena di sini lagi ada hal terbaru dari MPL Indonesia yaitu ada trading card Nirvana yang bisa kalian dapetin langsung karena harganya affordable banget, satu pack itu 40.000 dan di sini juga udah rame banget sih. Kita undang kali ya salah satunya yang udah beli nih kayaknya. Permisi, kamu udah beli card packnya MPL ya? Wow, kenapa? Namanya siapa dulu? Kita kenalan dulu nih.
Nama aku Christian.
Christian, kenapa nih kamu memilih untuk membeli card packnya MPL?
Kan di rumah udah banyak ya. Lagi mau cari yang ada tanda tangannya sih.
Oh, kamu emang ngefans sama player siapa?
Kayak Acu.
Oh, Kairi Acu. Oke, semoga kita dapat ya. Kita langsung unboxing bareng ya.
Ayo.
Oke, kita akan buka. Boleh kasih lihat. Ini dapat 5 pieces ya, 40.000 aja. Kita bakal lihat di dalamnya. Kira-kira dapat nggak nih Kairi Acu nih ya? Oke. Oke, kita buka dari paling belakang. Oke, dapat Rizzo Dewa. Oke, nextnya. Boleh aku pegangin? Oke. Wow,
Ki.
dapat key. Boleh kasih lihat dong ke kamera dong. Weh. Oke, dapat EVOS key. Siapa lagi nih?
Yang ketiga dapat apa ini?
Oh, dapat EVOS.
Dapat tim EVOS.
Wow, dapat tim EVOS nih ya. Dapat full collectionnya tim EVOS nih. Ada lagi.
Dapat GB.
Dapat GB.
Tapi udah pindah GB-nya.
Ya, tapi udah pindah GB-nya, sayang sekali. Nggak apa-apa. Ini dari Alter Ego. Dan terakhir, last but not least,
Dapat Gops.
dapat Gobs dari XP Lane-nya Geek. Jadi boleh dong dikasih lihat semuanya nih. Dapat 5 kartu in total ya. Wow.
kayaknya mau sih.
Kan
Ngincer Kyrie sih.
masih ngejar Kyrie ya. Jadi yang nanti nonton ini kalau punya Kyrie trading sama kartu-kartu yang dipunyai Christian ya. Oke, lalu kalau kamu undang dong teman-temannya untuk ke MPL Festival untuk nikmatin keseruan di sini.
Ayo semuanya datang ke MPL Festival, nonton bareng-bareng, kita nobar.
Ayo kita nobar bareng dan pastinya Alisa tunggu kehadiran kalian. Thank you so much Christian. Enjoy di MPL Festival dan pastinya teman-teman datang juga karena gratis hanya sampai hari Minggu 15 Juni 2025. See you di MPL Festival. Bye bye.
Ya, Akbar, pulang dong.
Gak perlu.
Rasa baru makin seru. Pertama di Indonesia. Kopi susu rasa cookies. Always ready, warnai harimu. Good day Groovy Cookies. Nikmati sensasi asyik kopi cookiesnya.
Tak ada hari tanpa mabar. Main ngelek, kerap buat ku tak sabar. Gimana mau main sampai kelar? Ini waktunya ku bersinar. Oke, let's do it. Game flash andalanku bikin mainku semakin hebat. Stabil main makin mulus, sering ku fix naik terus. Tukar DG rings, diamond dan voucher game kau dapat. Cuma game Max makin no debat.
Games Max Booster kini dapat 3 rings. Beli paketnya dan aktifkan boosternya di aplikasi Dunia Games.
Di era yang telah lama terlupakan, kehendak para dewa dan iblis menentukan takdir dunia. Kemakmuran dan peperangan silih berganti terjebak dalam pertarungan abadi antara keagungan surgawi dan murka neraka memancarkan suara dentingan pedang. Disinilah legenda dan kisah epik terlahir kembali dalam wujud yang belum pernah disaksikan dunia. Magic Chess Go-Go, sekarang giliranmu untuk bertindak.
Bes, need ko umuwi sa amin. Hindi kasi yung lolo ko eh. Pwede ba akong umiram ng pera?
Delight if they're going to beat Genji in the specified.
And it's been the leads we saw early, but then overextensions happen. You know, Hanwha criticized all year for taking big leads and kind of playing with their food a little bit. This is Genji. You can't do that against this team or you will lose your lead. As Peanut's going aggressive, Rel showing up here too. Keen in some trouble. TP.
Yeah, TP's coming in. I think with the three of them, they should be able to get this one down. The Gwen can shred a bit more through the Poppy compared to other champs, but eventually you're not going to win a 1v3, and that will be Keen going down. Doesn't even use his exhaust. He knew he was dead.
It's just crazy how just Peanut can just run at you. Like, as a Gwen, you kind of expect that, like, you know, it's a Poppy. What's a Poppy going to do? That, apparently. Like, slams him in the wall. And, you know, even before the Azir turned up, it was kind of looking pretty bad for Keen. End up picking up the kill. Doesn't get any, you know, resource in terms of summoner spells. But we'll take that extra bit of gold. And nothing really that Genji can do in return at that time.
Yeah, and you know, it's a big win. Chovy pushes it into the top inner turret, but it's not able to get anything. Zeus is able to show up there because it's the inner pretty quickly. Doesn't even need a TP for the defense, and now is actually just farming safely. 2 minutes, though, until that dragon. Look at the vision, the bottom side of your mini-map for watching at home, where that control is for Hanwha. They need to maintain it for 2 minutes. Get that set up. Have the Poppy ultimate this time. Zeus has TP and ult as well. He's sitting pretty, picks up another item here. Grabs the Oblivion Orb, I believe he just finished there, and is looking for this big team fight. This is where Hanwha Life regain control over the game. They force this fight. Now, there are angles where you could trade objectives here. Genji do have this one control here, but there's vision otherwise all around the Baron pit. Hanwha going to play through that, read it. And unfortunately for Zek, he's on the wrong side of the map to not have a teleport here, is answering the Gwen who does. And I think they need to swap this back before this dragon or look for a pick.
Wall's going to come down, and that's, I mean, there's no wave here, guys, so... again, another decision.
Yeah.
This time from Genji. And, you know, I like how they're playing a lot around getting position in mid and around the dragon, because that's going to be the next objective that we probably fight over, unless there is a big team fight that leads into Baron. So
I think it's,
I like it, but it was very eager. You know, it was a little bit too early.
I think they saw the timing, and it's just hard to have a wave against Poke Virus, you know,
yeah.
who can just kind of snipe it from a mile away. So
this gave a lot of time though for Hanwha Life to reset and go down towards the bottom side, because they put Zeka top to defend against a potential Baron. They expected Genji might look to threaten. Then they went for the mid play instead. So now Hanwha Life regained control, and this is the fight we were looking for. They have control. Peanut has full vision set up here as well. And Genji gonna have to find their way in here somehow, some way.
Yeah, you see Duro wants to get position, but it's so difficult into this Poppy. Peanut's presence in this game has certainly been felt, and it's Hanwha Life setting up on the objective first. This is what we want to see for their sake.
It's so difficult because no one wants to walk around and be in front of a wall and get slammed into it by Poppy. And also, no one really wants to be face-checking and get knocked away by the ult. So it's very difficult to step forwards against H-Lee. There's also the Chains of Corruption.
10 seconds on Chovy's ult, 5 now. I mean, he may be able to warp this fight to his favor.
Oh, they're going for Baron.
This is a really greedy call. Peanut on the bottom side there, they're going to rush over. I just don't think they can actually really commit. They clear the vision quickly, though. Now Hanwha Life don't have that setup we were heralding them for on the Dragon.
Well, they're going to force Peanut to come over.
Chovy on the flank.
Genji will be the ones that are in position on an objective.
Wait, they have the
I
wall.
do like this. The wall does come down, and the damage, it's not quite there at the same time, and now Duro's going to get caught in the front. Genji kind of scrambling here, taking a bunch of damage. Now Delight going in, looking for the engage, but he gets blown up. But meanwhile, Canyon now, Zeus flashes over the wall. He's going to trade 1-for-1, but Duro is down as he does get taken out here. The chase here onto Keen. Looks like he is just going to TP away, though. So Hanwha Life Esports, they do win the fight. It's a 2-for-2, but you can see the health bar is a bit healthier here for Hanwha. And they also get that TP out of Keen.
I mean, it's a Jin comp. You know, you just don't really have great damage. As Chovy may be caught.
He does have his flash, and he's actually just able to walk it off. But bit of damage is done, and maybe HLE can set something up on the Dragon.
Yeah, they still have their jungler, but it's still a little bit scary. Ruler backed, and Keen did as well. They're full HP. Ruler picked up an Infinity Edge, but I think having jungler means you're going to be able to secure that Dragon.
Yeah, and there's a ward on the Baron pit here for Hanwha, and there's just not that much damage, like I said, with this Jin comp. Like, if Ruler is playing another 80 carry in this position, maybe you could actually try to burn with this wall, but instead they only get it to half health, and then the re-engage, or rather the setup here for Hanwha Life with the equalizer here first into Delight's engage. Re gets engaged on first, but still gets some Magnet Storm in, buys some space. Zayas goes a bit too deep on this one, but secures the kill. But it's just such a broken up fight for Genji because they're coming off of Baron. They're trying to retreat into a choke point. And honestly, we might have even seen a better equalizer there in the choke if he had waited. But it's a big win for Hanwha, right? They end up picking up the gold lead again here, but stopping that Baron, grabbing the Dragon. Soul point here for Mountain Soul now in their hands with this Poppy composition with Aurel. So difficult for Genji if that goes over.
Jin as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have a Gwen and the Talia as well, but in terms of AD, right, it's going to be very difficult to chew through, and if you just build a lot of MR on top of it, it can be very difficult for HLE's comp to take any damage against what Genji do have. But we'll have to wait and see where this game does go. It's very close for a game that's 30 minutes in. Yes, Drake lead and a slight gold lead here for Hanwha Life Esports, but we already saw Genji come back earlier on in the game. And as long as HLE don't get the actual soul, I think there is still an angle for Genji. I think if the soul is taken, maybe they don't quite have the same angle.
I get the sense that there's been a lot more proactive play out of Genji, right? And they had to be the ones to do that, right? Because they were behind. We saw the clutch fight on Dragon. We saw how Hanwha Life have struggled to actually take fights defensively and look for turns with objective control, because Genji are just finding these pockets. They're finding these angles. And that's what gives me the feeling like this game isn't over yet. You know, it's a close game. Like you said, the small advantages, but Hanwha have such a great comp that scales so incredible, has great side lane pressure if they can get some vision, get some grouped up, shadow from Peanut, for example, onto Zeka in the bottom lane. But it's Genji is finding these angles and keeping it close. That makes me feel like this is still anyone's game to take.
Absolutely, especially with how different like the win cons are when it comes to the team fights. I feel like
Ruler?
He had cleanse, he's fine.
It's just kind of taking a walk through the mid lane, not sure about that.
He's been playing really aggressively in the mid lane when he's going for prio. Like Viper will just piercing arrow him. He'll be like, I can take it. Does end up getting the cleanse there. I feel like the Chains of Corruption is generally what you're cleansing when it comes to this HLE composition, so it's not that bad, but it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. He almost has it back.
Yeah,
it's like halfway through.
But to be fair, like how often in the middle of a fight are you getting Chains of Corruption by Varus? It's not going to happen that often.
Arguably the other issue you're going to have to deal with is maybe a rel crash down or something like that, but There's a lot of different ways that you should be able to position against that.
If you get rel ulted, you're probably dead anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
it is what it is.
Ultimately, it's a big win for Hanwha Life, but if anyone else had been there, it could have been worse for Ruler. So that's, I think, the bigger concern rather than what really happened here.
Well, looking for Peanut, I suppose, and they might just be able to get him. He's caught out as the angle from Toby locks him in, and they get another kill here for the Gwen. Genji now with the man advantage and no jungler. They should be looking to start this Baron.
Yeah, Roseus does have Equalizer here, and Empress divides up for Zeka. It's a Jin comp, but there's a Gwen on this Baron.
Look at the Varus.
Close.
The Varus poke is so deadly around this Baron, though, but Viper did miss that first Q.
It's 5v4. Duro does get pretty low. The Equalizer only going to hit Chovy, and they're keeping this Baron least. I think Genji are in a good spot here. Zeka and Viper trying their best to do the damage, but now even Zeus is taking a ton, as now the engage does come in from Delight, but he goes down immediately, and Canyon's not even looking at the fight. He just wants the objective, as he will get it. And now Ruler alongside of Chovy. So many low health bars, and in goes Canyon. They will look to clean up the fight. Viper is all alone by himself in a 1v3, flashes forward to try to score the win, but he will not be able to, and it's a triple kill to Chovy.
So close to Viper cleaning up on the fight, but Chovy stays strong, Canyon stays strong. Baron goes over to Genji. The fight is cleaned up, but it was a precarious one. Chovy finding a beautiful angle, wasn't looking for Viper, but Delight and Peanut caught out here. Peanut, unfortunately, not able to get away on this one, and then the call to go for Baron, you see they start to get really patient. You know, the Baron gets low, but they clearly want more than just the Baron out of this. Looking for the fight. Ruler starts setting up with the ultimate over here, and they start to look to see if they can find some picks in the back end. You can even see Keen moves off the Baron pretty early. They could have just secured it, but they're looking for this angle towards Zeus, and they end up finding a route here onto Zeka. Keen tries to take him out. Chovy moves over with Ruler, and they manage to finish off with the flash from Canyon.
Viper playing this so well at the final moments, though. Does, of course, have his Edge of Night here, so can buy a little bit of space. Looks for the play onto Chovy at the last possible second. Nearly hits him with that, which would have just left one Baron on Canyon at the end of it. But I think Genji played that beautifully, because I know there's no jungler. It's the onus is on HLE to try to force the fight, and they just played super defensively while also managing to hold that Baron aggro to take it down.
Did you see Chovy's items? He's got a Magize in this game and a death cap. Now Keen, what's going on here? He goes in by himself, and Genji are like, wait, what was that? And now, this is potentially Mountain Soul for Hanwha Life Esports.
And a lot of this Baron is being wasted by the fact that they're fighting over this dragon right now, not getting any pressure with it. This is a rough time here for Genji.
Genji want to go for the fight, actually. They're going to open up as that ult is not going to hit here from Peanut. He's taking a ton of damage. In goes Canyon. Peanut's dead! And that means this fight is easy for Canyon. They get the jungler, and HLE do not commit to the fight, and they get punished for it.
Just a crazy turnaround from Genji to lose your top laner outright at the start of the fight. And we see Ruler just stands on an Equalizer ulting. He's like, I'm committing to the bit. Kills Peanut, and the team are able to clean it up and deny the soul. This is just, I mean, Keen.
This is the kind of play that, you know, obviously he's trying to coordinate a collapse here with the Weaver's Wall, and the Weaver's Wall just ends up kind of slowing down Hanwha's advance. But the play here from Genji just exudes ultimate confidence, right? The fact that they're like, yeah, we're down a member, but we can actually still win this with our superior setup, with the Jhin we have. Hanwha Life struggles so much when they don't actually have the defensive turn, right? The Poppy ultimate misses, and that's all it takes. They focus down Peanut as he looks for that play. That's a secure on Dragon. So 3 Dragons apiece now here, 14 kills apiece. But Genji, the scoreboard looks similar, but when you look at the gold, when you look at the map control, it's definitely Genji's game to lose.
Oh boy, Delight just gonna get caught out here, and this has been happening all game. Not to Delight specifically, but to many different players just getting picked off, essentially, for no reason.
I mean, he's trying to get some sort of vision, but why in this specific place right now with no objectives up is the question.
You know, considering how rough the game started for Ruler and Duro, they really bounced back. That previous play, they were the ones who set up the kill onto Peanut. They set up that play there onto Delight. Really bouncing back from a very rough early laning phase.
Chovy looking for a cutoff here. No vision on him right now. As the wave comes in, they will see him.
Trying to go for something, but look at the damage that they do to Peanut, and he snipes him from miles away. And Peanut can't even get out of there with his life intact. We talked about the Poppy and the Mountain Soul and everything, but he just looks like a, I don't know, just a wet piece of paper at this moment in time. He's getting shredded so easily.
That's not what you want to see, and they didn't even have to use Chovy's Weaver's Wall. They didn't even have to look for a really aggressive setup here. It's just kind of a freebie. Baron's gone now, though. See if there's an angle here Delight could find. I don't know, there's just no follow-up. As you can see, Gen.G can kind of see everything except Delight, but they know where he is.
Wall's going to come down. They just want to secure this inhibitor. They're going to get the turret. Yep, siege wall. Do they commit to the inhibitor? Looks like no. But they're just chopping away chunks of Hamalife Esports' base. And Hamalife was in such a commanding lead. They had so much control of this game, but this is why we had so many one-sided predictions for Gen.G. They are just that team right now in the LCK. Even when you've got a lead, they will come back.
Get to see Keen's point of view. And it was the last needle that was able to catch him at the end. But yeah, I mean, so much of this game was either a lead for HLE or just super close between the two teams. And now we have a 6,000 gold lead
and a
in favor of Gen.G.
stacked Majais for Chovy.
Yeah, I mean, he's full build. He can only just get more stacks than the Majais at this point. He is so strong right now. And the thing is, especially because, you know, Peanut, like, Delight's on a support economy. Peanut is on a jungler's economy. And, like, you look at his items in comparison. Like, Ruler's nearly full build with an LDR. Chovy's got a Void Staff, and there's an Abyssal Mask and Duro.
Keen, he just wants blood. He almost got a little bit of help from his friend there, Ruler, with a little Deadly Flourish. But yeah, you don't get the kill, but you get Zeus out of the fight. And that's going to mean more pressure here from Gen.G right before this Baron spawns. Baron, the inner turret.
Baron is spawning, but so is the Dragon here. And Hanwha Life have more vision around the Dragon, but I think Gen.G have an opportunity to rush over and set up before it and end up contesting for this. It looks like, though, you know, we might see Hanwha Life try to collapse here and look for the Baron first. There's a really tiny window between these two objective spawns here. If you get a pick, you could potentially get both or just, frankly, end the game. No open inhibitors just yet, or rather, no destroyed inhibitors for Hanwha Life. This is their last stand. This is their last opportunity. They're fighting desperately for Prio to take that fight, get a big Keeper's Verdict. The fight's the comp. We've talked about it all game long. They haven't really been able to find their win cons. Gen.G have stopped them at every turn. This is their final moment, and Gen.G looking to now channel towards Baron. Once again, I mean, this composition with the Jhin has so much space they can
have
buy.
So much damage. It's incredible the amount of damage they have on this Baron. It's going to force them over. Duro trying to hook his way away from this one. The wall comes down. The Poppy ult not going to hit. It's now Delight trying to force the fight here. Duro is pretty low. And actually a decent angle here. Canyon getting pretty low himself. Keen is by himself as well. HLE might have found the one angle to win the fight, but Chovy's still alive. Ruler sniping from very far away. Looks pretty good still for HLE, even though Chovy is chomping them down with huge amounts of damage with this gigantic build. But HLE, they stopped the Baron, and maybe now they get the Dragon.
Yeah, moving over towards the Soul. Peanut's still alive, able to edge out that fight despite the deficit TP coming in. And I feel like this fight, the front line just got shredded for Gen.G. Weren't able to really get access. You can see Duro focused down here. The ult doesn't connect, but Ruler has to back away so far. Ruler and Chovy get zoned so heavily by Delight and Zeus here. And Ruler does ult here, but he's not really able to do too much to Viper, who's full HP.
I mean, Zeus played that so well. His equalizer was massive. One more tick and Ruler dies and doesn't even get to have the opportunity for that ultimate. Heroic Rumble play after they get that first initial setup onto Duro. Baron is denied. Soul is secured here for Hanwha Life. 5,000 gold down, but at 40 minutes, that really doesn't mean as much as it would have, 10 minutes ago.
I mean,
everyone's starting to get closer to full build.
Chovy and Ruler are full build.
Yeah.
Any gold they're getting on top of this is irrelevant. So, that Mountain Soul coming in, that permanent boost, is a massive boon for HLE.
And, I mean, we're looking at all these ultimates back online here. Peanut, Zeus, they're ready for a potential Baron fight and contest.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think, HLE, they benefit hugely from this Mountain Soul, but we've seen that both of these teams have won big team fights from behind. And I think it's just going to come down to team fight execution, which both of these teams are just so fantastic at. HLE getting the better of the last one.
Let's see that Chovy wall. The angle is really important. How many people get cut off?
Hide on bush. Duro going to be spotted, though, in the play.
Zeka with this Sun Disc is actually pretty massive. They have a ton of prio right now. Canyon alone.
I think the big concern for me is HLE have so many more flashes available on their side. 4 up, compared to Genji, who only have Chovy and Duro. Ruler's Flash being down, Canyon's being down, I think is a big hit.
Yeah, I think they could actually just start the Baron.
I mean, they're playing around vision because Genji, of course, don't have that full information here. That control ward and that brush is so valuable. Once they clear that, Hanwha Life can just do anything, and Genji will have to really sweat it out. Like, are they doing Baron? Can we go over and contest? Or are they going to engage on us? Keen on a flank angle here. The shields really coming into play as they clash in neutral. The range advantage as well makes it so difficult to dent Hanwha Life.
You have a ridiculous amount of Baron damage here for HLE with almost full build Azir and Rumble. And even the Varus, even though he is lethality, can do a decent amount. Now Keen just gonna start attacking Delight, who's taken so much, and he's gone! He's just out of the fight, just like that, as Chovy getting pretty low. Zeus gonna flash on in, but Chovy's got his Zhonya's, and he will be able to survive there. Takes a bit of damage. But right now we've got the Light who is down. Chovy gets the pick again! You will not stop this man! And that is going to be 25 stacks for the Taliyah.
But Viper's still full health, and all these low health bars for Genji means I don't think they could try to push for anything further here. It's a huge win for Chovy. They end up taking him out of the fight. Zeus, that is, out of the fight. That means Hanwha Life shouldn't be able to take this Baron either. TP comes in for Keen just to be sure. The game state's still so incredibly close, and Genji now have their eyes on looking for the Baron turn once again.
Yeah, with a long death time, we should be able to move on this. Zeus does have TP, but not up for 30 seconds. The thing is, Peanut has Flash, and they still have a lot of power. The poke from the Varus over the wall is significant. They can threaten with a poke, and Peanut can look for the steal.
Peanut has Flash.
This could be big.
It's 5v3, and it's really just going to come down to Peanut and see if he can get in there. The damage is being done by Keen, though. He's running Viper down, and that's going to zone Peanut away as well, who is being shredded and has to flash the wall. That's going to be Baron over to Genji. Very nicely handled.
So well played there by Keen. I was a little concerned him going over the wall with Viper there, but he forces Summoner spells from Viper and gets Peanut away from the situation so they can secure the Baron. And I was talking before about the lack of Summoners for Genji. Canyon's Flash is coming up, Rulers is coming up. They've navigated that situation so well, and they secured the Baron to boot.
Yeah, this fight is very broken up, of course, but initial pick here onto Delight means that even though the knockaway on the Nautilus is there, it's a trade. And then watch Chovy here on this moment, here on this angle. Zeus used his equalizer to try to zone Chovy, but Zonia's was available. Chovy getting this flick here is massive. They can't do more because Viper is level 18. He is so huge in this game. But moments like that are how you get to start these Barons, how you get to have that control, look for these angles. Keen with the outplay there, denying any entry, denying the Varus for the, arrow plus smite combo that Peanut and Viper were wishing they could have a chance for. It's not giving them any angles, any windows back in. And now Genji looking to finally put the death knells on this inhibitor in the bottom lane.
Yeah, inhibitor would be nice. It is just the bottom inhibitor with Elder coming up, so it's not like the end of the world if Hanwha Life do lose it, but it does mean that Genji are going to have a kind of an insane amount of map control, especially with them sieging a little bit in mid at the same time. You see that cannon getting to work on the turret. And now we got a bit of damage into Duro. He is going to hook away. And at least on the life, they're keeping them out of this one for now, but the wall is going to come down, and the Poppy ult knocks away the Xin Zhao. But Peanut, he puts himself in such a bad spot, and Keen will live for now, but he gets poked down by the Rumble and the Azir, so he's out of the fight himself. Duro pretty low at the same time.
Clearing this wave here as Genji did not get that inhibitor.
All right, Chovy, he is just, look at the damage on this Taliyah, it's insanity. And now Canyon is frontlining for the team. You got a zoning Jhin ult at the same time. Nobody's able to follow up on this one. Zeus getting incredibly low, and he will be taken out. Nothing that Viper can do. And that will be this mid inhibitor going down at least.
The big thing is, though, look at the death timer on Zeus. Elder spawning in 30. I'm not sure they can end right now. Canyon?
He just walks in.
This could change things.
Up dies, and now they got to go for the fight here. Duro, look at a sacrifice for the team, but Canyon goes down, and that might just be a bit too much for Chovy and Ruler. They are incredibly fed in this game.
I mean, Viper has a huge role to play here in this one now. He has one death. He's only died one time in this game, and that's going to reset everything here. Peanut respawns first. They don't have any map control. They are down that mid inhibitor. The bottom inhibitor, surprisingly, was, again, saved by HLE, and they can play the bottom.
They're trying to keep them trapped in the base so they can't just run into Elder. They're trying to buy as much time as possible.
It's going to be tricky. Remember, Zeka has TP as well here.
Oh, TP in a mid.
They're going to actually look to try to collapse on this.
Oh, that's crazy.
They say, okay, you want to take the Elder? Take the Elder.
And
I don't care about the Elder.
Hanwha may have to just back here. They have enough wave because there's no big wave in the main base.
Well, they only got 2 inhibitors. I don't know.
Wait, I think this is fine. So they back away. The Elder's gone. But with 2 super minions, mid and top, they're not really going to be able to...
Novi's coming in here.
I don't know about this.
So you have to back away.
Yeah, he's just going to get ulted away. Peanut's going to throw
But
him the door.
essentially, the Elder's secured. But what is HLE going to be able to do with Elder when you have super minions pushing mid-top?
You have no pressure.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of reset here. This is going to be a very, very long game. We might set some records here if the pace of this continues. But, I mean, when you look at the game state here as well with the wards in the base here for Gen G, no TP for Chovy, no TP for Keen. So even though there are setups here for potential TP into the base, you're probably not going to be able to, without teleport, not going to be able to do that, but I don't think you're going to be able to threaten a backdoor here either, but you do completely neutralize the impact of the Elder, as you mentioned, Ox, so unless somebody gets caught here, it's going to take a while before HLE can really threaten to end off of this Elder, because Elder is usually and was designed to be the, I got this objective, the game is over now, no one can stop me, but the Super Minions will slow this. And I think there's still an angle here where Hanwha Life could look for a siege, and they're absolutely going to try here with Viper poking his way in. But I mean, look at this. There's no wave. There's just no way for them to end right now unless Gen G make a mistake.
This is the problem, is that, you know, Elder makes you so good in the fights, but it doesn't help with the sieging, and there's a ton of wave clear. They might get this mid-tier 2. That's definitely plausible with the Elder. Breaking the inhibitor tower is much more difficult, though.
Chovy doesn't have ult. I thought he was going to look for a wall there.
Yeah, mid-tier 2. That'll go pretty quickly.
Zeka is going in there. He's going to do a taunt to Chovy, who has to flash. They got the equalizer. Chovy, they got in. Chovy is down, and they've got a cannon minion here too, HLE. How far do you want to push it? They're looking for the inhibitor.
Well, I guess they can't neutralize that.
No, I don't think so. Bit of a greedy play from Chovy. He is punished.
All right, Chain's going to go down. Look at the damage from the Azir and the Varus.
Now, there's no wave here just yet, but another one's coming. And I don't know, with 45 seconds until Chovy respawns, I think Hanwha should be able to end here.
They don't have the same wave clear. They gotta stack up.
They gotta block it.
They gotta stack up and keep the minions alive, and HLE are gonna do exactly that. We got the Peanut ult, not gonna hit anything. Keen, desperate to try to stop the minions from hitting the base. He will go down, but HLE, they wanna end the game right here. And right now, they get a kill onto Cannon. They get a kill onto the turrets, and HLE are gonna make it happen in game 1.
They have such a track record of winning those game 1s and game 5s in best of 5s. They have not lost to Gen G in a best of 5 this year. They're 2-0 against them. They get that critical game 1. But if we're going to 5 in this road to MSI first versus second seed series, and we're going to 5 games and it looked like that one, I'm definitely signing up right now.
I mean, this is top of HLE, able to find him with the Elder Burn from the Equalizer. Just beautifully executed, and that was not an easy game to play for either side, but HLE came through strong.
It's really difficult because you have to clear the wave as Gen G, but
what is
the
that
Elder,
gold graph, by the way?
you can't do anything. You couldn't get close.
I mean, I don't know if Viper could have done more in that game either with his Varus. Just incredible positioning, doing a ton of damage. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the rest of this series has in store for us.
Yeah, and Zeka, the clutch master, he is back in game number 1. HLE, Hanwha Life Esports take game 1. We'll take a break and have the space. We'll be right back.
들어줄래? 나 풀격공 할 테니까 이거 각 봐줘.
야 한쪽이 내 앞에 있어라. 야
돌아.
여기 트랩만 밟을게. 우리 공 받았으니까 천천히 해. 미드라인만. 내가 봐줄게.
각 웨이브 신경 써야 돼. 하나씩 받자.
레드 맞아줘. 날려맞는다.
펜 잡았어.
싸우는 소리야.
싸워볼래? 나 싸워. 아니 잡아. 잡아야 돼.
진.
아야 끝내.
나이스.
Always ends like this. When I think I'm healing, if I had one wish, could you save me from my feelings? Chemicals can't fix all these wounds that I'm concealing. I'm lost in light and sound. I need you to hold me down. Baby, won't you give me a sign? Oh, I need you to. Just go when they turn on the lights, I'll run back to you. One touch and you're getting me high, oh tell me it's true. Find me at the end of the night, I'll run back to you. Always ends like this. Taste of something stronger, dancing on my lips. Now I'm falling 10 feet under. Try to drown it out, but I'm swimming in deep water, fading in and out. I need you to hold me now, baby. Won't you give me a sign? Oh, I need you to. Just go when they turn on the lights, I'll run back to you. One touch and you're getting me high, oh tell me it's true. Find me at the end of the night, I'll run back to you.
One of the most overused phrases is applicable here. Hands up at home, everyone. Absolute cinema in game number 1, and you love it because this is the same story that we get when these two teams meet. It's a banger in game 1, and Hanwha Life Esports gets themselves a win. Tigon here alongside Wadid and Chronicler. What a game number 1.
I really thought that the game was over for either team like 5 times. And I think that what I love most is there will be, and there was one scenario or one specific situation we'll go in at the very end that I think was an unforced error, but by and large, so many of the mistakes that happen here are because other people are making big plays. I think that final play, the catch that Zeka found onto Chovy, right? You can obviously be like, Chovy, man, but he is like 3 screens away! Out of nowhere, this pigeon descends, and Zeka had been having a bad game. Still clutches it out in the end.
I mean, I lost my words. I'm getting goosebumps every single play. Like, it's just amazing to see like these plays, especially, I mean, it's just only game 1, day 1 as well. So it feels just amazing.
Yeah, we've packaged highlights together, but each team fight here, 20 kills on each side, was just as impactful. But we start in the early game in some macro here because, you know, as much as there are a ton of kills, remember, Hanwha Life Esports were moving Gen G around the map.
Yep, them winning the 2v2 bot lane snowballed a lot. I think it shows, it clearly shows that HLE was ahead of the curve. Here, them having a free trail on the bot side while Genji is trying to get something on the top side, but they couldn't get it. So I feel like them denying the Genji play in the early game, it helped a lot for HLE to snowball with their value picks on the late game.
And we felt like from that point on, with the team fighting power they had, it really should have been a pretty smooth Hanwha Life win. I'm also very curious to see how Gen G is going to feel about this, because you can argue that with the early game that they had, particularly the bot lane, they really shouldn't have been allowed to have an edge in this game, but then they have found an amazing team fight in mid-game. And after that, the game kind of became a big back and forth. So as a result, the next highlight is at 39 minutes.
Yeah, don't worry, in between the Chovy show is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what happened on this highlight, you know? I think it started up Viper again. I thought Genji is having a great position with the Talia ulti, and we could see Delight failing the engage, but the follow-up with the Rumble ulti was perfect. So I think this was actually the bounce back play from HLE.
And the big thing here is that it leads to Hanwha Life actually picking up the soul.
Yeah.
Right? Like they get Mountain Soul, and if you see how close a lot of the later fights are, I think the Mountain Soul actually ended up getting a crazy amount of value. And Hanwha Life, to me, even more so than Gen G. Gen G, for me, is a team that always can find a way back. Hanwha Life is the team that doesn't give you anything for free. I swear they will contest everything, and I think that that is what ends up, in the end, winning them the game.
Yeah, and here we go. Final one here with finally some agency. Gen G tried to push in to close it on in. Doesn't quite work out here, and then they get punished.
Let's be real. We can leave here. We can leave.
Let's go home.
We can leave. Elder is spawning. You just got a mid lane in it. Is it the most valuable? No, we know this, but this to me loses the game. I know people are gonna go in on that catch onto Chovy, which I think is valid because it was a great play, but this right here is an unforced error. This was just not necessary. You get mid lane in it, you back, you get Elder, because the reason why Chovy dies is because that Elder goes over because Canyon overstays in base, and that to me was an unforced error.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, I feel like Gen G did great jobs so many times, especially when it comes to the team comp. It's really hard to face check. Yes, it's really hard to face check Poppy and Varus and Nazir whenever they have the control. So I feel like it was kind of impossible to bounce back as a Gen G side, but somehow Chovy found a way, and that's why Gen G almost won the game. But I feel like just in general, HLE team comp was just countered by the peaks. So I feel like it's just in general, HL had a great team comp in general, yeah.
But now Hanwha Life won on red side. There are so many more things we wanted to highlight. There's like Gen G with a perfect Baron play where they hold off. We did actually spot this to ensure that the Varus couldn't steal it away. And there's a lot of other moments in the team fights, particularly with Chovy setup and his use of Talia walls, that were all amazing. But we don't have time for that because there's too much going on.
So the thing is, it's all about Chovy outplaying again whenever Gen G is on the downhill. So I feel like they have to find some way without Chovy, you know? You cannot like always rely on Chovy many times. So I feel like HLE became more a team. And I think that point will curse the Gen G here.
And Gen G losing the Hanwha back on their Game 1 best-of-5 win streak that they lost against KC, but that's losing on your own side selection and an almost 50-minute game.
Man, what a way to kick things off here as there's Peanut on your screen, able to clutch it on out with the rest of Hanwha Live Esports. The script has been written. Let's just sit back and enjoy it. Game number 2, Hanwha Live Esports and Gen G.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Spacers. We're getting into game number 2. And if it's anything like game number 1, we are in for a long back and forth bout. Gen G easily could have won that game 1. They made some critical mistakes, and Hanwha Life Esports was right there to pick up and take the win. That is the type of team they are. In those clutch scenarios, they will get it done. And they've already given a big challenge here to Gen G, looking much better than we saw them in the best of 3s.
I will say, though, you know, despite Canyon's big flub there, which ultimately was probably what was the first domino towards the end of the game there, Gen G were massively far behind. Big clutch plays, made all the right decisions, crushed Hanwha Life's comp, never gave them the setup they were looking for. And had Canyon not made that mistake, we'd probably be looking at a Gen G 1-0 here despite a deficit in the early game. And I think if that doesn't speak to what this series could look like, and Gen G probably didn't drop much confidence from this. They might have had some words with Canyon after the game, but I do feel like you're not feeling really so crushed after a loss like that. Even as long as the game was, Gen G knew it was winnable and in fact should have been won by them.
I think the problem is, though, that was a close game, right? But the last time they played each other in a best of 5 was a close series. And the time before that, it was a close series. And the time before that, it was a close series. And the last 3 best of 5s they played was a HLE win. And I think that's the issue, is that every time it's super close, and I think HLE just has this tendency to clutch out these really close encounters where I think there may be some doubts in Gen G. And I'm certain Gen G are going to come back and fight this out. But if it goes to 5 games, HLE have shown time and time again that they're capable of clutching these series, and they showed that clutch factor in this game. So Gen G, they're on blue side again. They need to sharpen up in this game. And 100%. They need to show that form they've shown in the regular season so far.
Yeah, and when you make that mistake and you lose that game in a best of 5, and you lose that 5th game, had you just not made that mistake, you'd be the first seed to MSI. There wouldn't be a game 5. And so even small mistakes like that in League of Legends and close games in a very, very competitive best of 5 can cost you dearly. But I think, again, confidence-wise, probably not a big blow here to Gen G.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how they react. We got to see what their game 2 looks like, because immediately you're set behind in the best of 5 where, coming to this one, there is a reason why Gen G had a lot more predictions in their favor. They had a similar amount for Summer Finals last year, but it feels like with the 18-0, they were even more dominant this time around, and that is why we believe they could get it done this time. But if they lose again to Hanwha Life Esports in a best of 5, I think all bets are off, and we really got to question if Gen G can get it done when it matters.
See what this final ban is here. The Nidalee ban is quite interesting. Keen hasn't really favored this as much as Zeus has. And it obviously can still be played by Canyon, and the jungle is quite famed for it. But surprised to see that one on red side here in game 2.
Yeah, I expect to see the Calista ban again, especially with Poppy and Talia taken away. I feel like the priority for that probably even higher now. Did see that Ahri ban before. That's now been left open. They kind of felt like the Ahri ban was there to set up the Talia. So a lot of things left open. That Calista, to me, really stands out. The fact that, Talia, Poppy gone, Varus gone as well. Which
and it's Ruler.
Trouble, and it's Ruler, so...
This guy was getting Calista bans in totally different metas when it wasn't Fearless, and they're just going to first pick Trundle.
Okay, well...
I mean, Trundle, another pick that does really well into Calista. Yeah. That can shut it down. So maybe this is a pick that goes, well, we want to set up for the Calista, but we won't let you play it by picking something that makes our life hell.
Well, this probably means Zeus is going to end up playing Jace, right? Because you don't want to play one of those tank top laners. We already have the Gwen and the Rumble off the cards, which is, I think, why the Trundle stocks go way up. You could still get the Calista. I think you could still play it, although obviously it's going to mess with Marshall Pose, the pillar, and how much you can actually fight, and you don't have a lot of mobility, so if you end up getting pillared in a team fight or in a gank, you're in trouble. But the fact that the Nico is banned really means that you can just slam lock this Calista down. And they could have actually, I feel like, not necessarily locked the Renata, but grabbed a top laner instead. and then grab the Renata on 3. Instead, it's going to be the Scion to go over the Gen G.
Yeah, I feel like already you've got a couple of tools that can deal with the Kalista very nicely. I mean, Scion has been one of these scaling tank threats that's kind of turning into old Ornn, where it's like he is a mage assassin. Like, he kind of does everything. And I feel like this is a fantastic 3 pick from the side of Gen G to handle what Hanwha have already shown.
You know, you have the super tank, you know, you have the Trundle with the pillar who can slow down the Kalista, and then Ryze. You know, if Kalista ever steps up to Ryze, he's having a bad time. So I think Gen G super confident with what they have. HLE on the other side, you know, Kalista, Renata, obviously a really strong bot lane duo. Interested to see what Ruler Duro will pick into that. Looking to pick up the Ahri, and this feels like a very, you know, aggressive, early skirmish focused trio from HLE they picked up so far. They need to get the ball rolling with what they have.
Yeah, I feel like this draft for Hanwha Life really is sink or swim so much in the early to mid, and if you fall behind, you just don't have any sort of in. I expect that we'll see a Pantheon ban from Gen G, as Pantheon Ahri, a really strong combo that is still, of course, available. As we'll see the Xayah very safe into the Ahri, taken away from Ruler. And what comes next, though, gets a little bit more murky. I mean, we could see potentially, for example, a Jace ban, but doesn't really suit the composition for Hanwha Life as much anymore. Although it can be quite strong to get lane prio into the Scion early. And it's not very strong for Trundle to, of course, subjugate. But I think that a Pantheon ban makes sense. Looking for Nocturne first, however.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, what is Peanut going to play in this game? You know, you don't want to play something like a Sejuani or any kind of tank because of the Trundle. And you want something that works well with the Ahri, but the Wukong is already gone. And now they're going to ban Nocturne and probably another jungler here. So really limiting the options of Peanut to find a good jungler that fits in this composition as well. I do wonder what he's going to go for.
I don't think Viego is going to have a good time in this draft either. You don't want to play Skarner, so your options become quite limited here in draft for Hanwha Life. And the Aatrox will be taken away from Zeus.
A lot of respect given over to him for that pick. Obviously, last time we saw these two teams at the best of 5, did a lot of work with that one.
Maybe Ambessa here for Zeus?
Not something we've really seen him lean towards. It's only really been Shu who's really picked it up in situations like this.
It just feels like it fits the comp and it can do very well into Scion. But we know that Zeus can play all sorts of different things, as it's Jarvan.
Not 100% sold on this one.
They were kind of laughing between each other. I wonder if they have any ideas about flexing that Jarvan. I think that would be kind of crazy, but...
You know, the Senna's still open and available.
Yeah.
In this one.
It's really tough to play Senna into Renata Kalista, but if you can just play through topside a little bit and stave off that pressure, you have such an incredible late game here as Gen G. Ezreal is pretty safe. They banned the Xayah. They took away the Lucian, which follows up really well on pillars and Scion engages, but the Ezreal is just super safe, consistent damage. Again, somewhat tough in the lane into the Kalista, but if you can get out of it, or you can just beat it with Karma.
This is such a winning matchup into the Kalista Renata. Like, you have so much long range to harass, and now you have a winning bot lane 2v2, so the pressure that the Kalista Renata has is kind of out the window. You're confident in the mid lane matchup, and I feel like now Zeus is really, the pressure's on him to have a top laner that he can really run away with the matchup, and we've seen time and time again, Scion is confident into Jace.
Camille is going to be the option here. Can lock down the Ezreal, could potentially lock down the Ryze, but it's really awkward, I feel like, for Hanwha Life Esports, because in terms of engage, they have Jarvan, they have Camille, kind of, right? But it's a very mobile composition. You can realm warp to outpace it, and the Scion is so tanky that it's hard to access the targets you want as Hanwha Life. And the Karma feels so strong here because both it wins you the lane, and yes, there's not a traditional engage here for Gen G, but you have pillars, you have Scion, and with the comp of Hanwha Life, you have to engage, so the Karma can just play it defensively. You don't need a support to fish for engages, fish for angles, fish for picks, because they're coming at you. Their comp has to by default, so the Karma doesn't feel like it's a detriment, whereas sometimes you pick the Karma, you win the lane, but you feel like you're really missing that engage. With this draft for Gen G, I don't feel like that's really the case.
I feel like as well, when you have champions like Ryze and Trundle, you know, you have the ability for the point-and-click CC with the root, you have the pillar as well. You speed them up, and they're just enabled so much. And I think really, you know, there is tools for HLE to sort of find momentum in the early mid-game, but they really need to get the ball.
Dream deals await.
coming off of the back of the confidence of winning game 1, you know, and the fact that they got an early lead in game 1 as well. And yeah, it got pretty iffy there in the mid game where Gen G were coming back. You know, I feel like this is a composition that HLE can pilot very well. Especially you got Zeka on the Ahri, it's straight in their comfort zone. You've got Zeus on a carry top. I think there are definitely angles here for HLE as well, and very curious to see how this game number 2 is going to pan out, especially with how exciting and crazy game 1 was. Let's hop into the rift for game number 2. We're packed here at the Sajik Gymnasium. So many fans coming down to see who is going to be the first seed to MSI from Korea. And at this point, it's hard to tell. Almost everybody went for Gen G in the Preds. There was Jonah Strong who went for HLE, but we weren't thinking about it.
It's probably going to be Gen G or HLE.
Thank you for that insight, Ox.
Yep.
That's why we have you here on the desk.
That's why I'm here.
Any thoughts, Wolf?
I mean, I'm going to hold my thought on Preds because we have a kind of a cool setup here for Hanwha Life. We're looking to collapse, actually.
Yep. Talk about getting early leads. I mean, Chovy's in a really rough spot. Nowhere for him to go. He just stands still and accepts it. Gives the first blood. And now Ruler's going to be handshook. He has to flash end barrier on Ezreal. HLE, massive early win at the level 1.
And it's, you know, here for Gen G, your level 1 isn't bad by any means, but they didn't have enough information to be that far up, and it was a really nice collapse there from Hanwha Life. They saw the ward in the brush. They were able to identify exactly where Chovy was, collapse on him, and end up killing him. Chovy doesn't even flash because he knows it is 100% doomed. And now he's down his teleport here early as well, so Zeka can build some tempo advantages there. And man, if you look at the draft here for Hanwha Life, I mean, I think they didn't even look super happy with it when you saw it on their faces when they ended up locking in the Camille. You know, I said I don't think it's going to be a blow to your confidence. If they win this game, 2 games in a row on red side, I think that certainly will be. Gen G are already a little bit on the back foot.
I mean, honestly, you know, Zeus gets the kill, but I think the worst off here is the bot lane. Ruler not having any sums. We talked about this Ezreal Karma in the bot 2v2, but going down sums against Kalista Renata completely changes the dynamic of that matchup, and now they're really going to have to be on the defensive.
It's wild because it gives you advantage in 3 lanes. Like, it's a kill for the Camille, it's a teleport down for Chovy, and then both sums down for Ruler in the bottom lane means you're losing that lane early as well. And Hanwha Life just kind of get all 3. This tough for the Camille early on in that top side matchup. Sion is just so incredibly strong right now. It's hard to trade with him, it's hard to interact with him, but it is going to get better for Zeus, and he already has that freebie in the bank.
Yeah, it just means you're accelerated just that bit more. Allows you to hit the first item just a bit quicker and really turn the tides of the lane in your favor. And to me, I mean, the fact that Zeus, yeah, he was playing Rumble in the last game, but Camille is definitely more in his wheelhouse in terms of just taking over games. We give a lot of credit for Chovy and his ability to take over games. Obviously, a little bit of a stumble there in game number 1. Maybe we did praise him a little bit too much, but really got to give credit to Zeus on the Camille. I think he can do big things with this first kill up into Keen Sion. And I'm very excited to watch more of this matchup. You can see already Zeus is doing pretty well. Canyon had his Raptors stolen away and is now just sitting on 4 camps as the Trundle going to pick up his 5th.
Chovy's going to have to take that first back. Zeka's holding the wave against him. This means Canyon has to come over here because Zeka can just TP back and get a huge advantage here. So this is very unfortunate, very awkward for Chovy in this mid lane. Zeka having a pretty big mana advantage right now as well.
I feel like Rise is one of those champs that feels particularly bad on because he's so much about resetting when you have like tier, resetting when you have like Catalyst, having those perfect resets.
Canyon was able to actually double scuttle, interestingly enough. Felt like he was falling behind in the jungle race, but he took up both scuttles, and now he's going to get to work on his Krugs.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, doing Raptors on Trundle, it kind of sucks anyway, so maybe...
He says thank you.
Yeah, he's like, you know, that camp takes so long anyway. I don't miss it that much. Doing Scuttle Crab, really easy. You just did a single target stomp. Chomp.
Chomp and stomp.
Chomp and stomp, yeah.
Zeus significantly far behind, which is, again, pretty wild. The state of Sion right now, but I think the mastery of Sion that everybody has because he's become so meta is a lot of players on average is playing him way better than they would otherwise when it was a more niche pick. You haven't played him in a while, you're not super focused on it. Keen is crushing this. The gold lead that Zeus had is fading away here because of that kill earlier with 10 CS deficit. He obviously hasn't cashed in on that gold just yet, but still feeling pretty good here for Keen. As Hanwha Life look to secure this first dragon.
Yep, still no flash on Ruler. Looks like they do want to try to fight this, funnily enough. They're going to get a TP here out of the Ahri. There's the handshake, though, on Aduro, who is desperately trying to run away. Peanut not level 6, and they're just going to let him get out of there. Aduro doesn't even have to flash. But first dragon does go over to HLE, trying to use that bot prio that they have.
Yeah, I think Gen G pretty okay. I mean, they try to go for the contest on the dragon, but they get like the lights flash out of it. You know, Zeka committed the TP down. He was going to TP back to lane anyway, but they end up getting away, and Duro is safe on the back of that, so you're pretty happy he weren't punished in any way. But early dragon pickup, as you said, on the back of that Kalista Renata and the strength they had. All in all, you know, we talked about how obviously the early game that invade, that backfired, obviously wasn't ideal, but things panning out, and nothing too bad right now for Gen G.
Well, certainly not. Still a relatively even game here. See what happens with these first and only grubs now. Old habits do die hard on the top side of the map, because this is an angle for sure. Gen G could get right back into this. Side laning Rise is very powerful. Denying those grubs to the Camille would be really important here. See, Ruler and Duro are heading both back to the bottom lane. Still some wiggle room here in terms of the timing. Advantage Hanwha Life right now for a potential swap. Keen trying to be annoying.
It is what he does. I mean, he's up 15 CS. We do see Zeus is going to catch a wave, so it's not going to end up as 15. But yeah, even with the kill, I mean, he's going to pick up a call to try to accelerate himself and try to, you know, slingshot himself towards that first and second item as fast as possible, and just try to deal with the laning stage the way it is. And a Scion that gets ahead isn't the end of the world, but we have seen Scions that do take over games, and I think that Keen is definitely one of the guys that can get it done. So excited to see what he can do on the Scion. Yeah. Ruler CSing very well in the bottom lane, so Gen G have effectively stabilized at this point in time.
Do have Canyon on the bottom side of the map. Grubs are spawning in 30 seconds here. Keen could just rush towards the top side of the map. Keen obviously has prio here still, but a lot of commitment towards the bottom side of the map here because of the jungle camps that were available for Canyon. Like, he doesn't have much of a choice. See if he does end up showing up for the grubs in 15 seconds here. Chovy having constant prio here in mid lane despite losing his teleport early is going to make this a little bit frustrating here for Hanwha Life Esports. Mid and top prio control after that start feels fantastic if you're Gen G.
I feel like every time we look top, it's just he is taking so much damage in this matchup. It is just not going well, and I think keeping him down, delaying his spikes as much as possible, especially when you have this composition for Gen G, which is 2 carry, is so important, because the Camille jumping onto Ruler or jumping on a Chovy and deleting them from the fight immediately makes the 5v5 so much harder for Gen G. We do now see Viper into like setting up for something bot, but the wave is cleared quickly, and it's important because this is Kalista Renata, and the dive potential is so easy with the combination.
Because of the bailout, you can really heavily commit. So that's going to be a backstop. I don't know if it'll necessarily matter as Peanut's not even nearby. But the thing is, it's an Ezreal that got his flashback as well as has Arcane Shift, and he did clear the wave, as you mentioned, which is really critical there with the True Shot Barrage. And so they just end up getting grubs for free here, and Peanut can make no cross map.
Peanut doing a good job of staying out of vision, but Chovy knew that he was on the bottom side of the map, so he's angling towards the top side, and he's not going to get punished for that.
See, this was a nifty trick I've seen before from Chovy. It's you just dodge it.
Just walk in the correct direction.
Yeah.
Don't get hit by the skill shot.
Yeah, would have gone bad if he did get hit by the skill shot, but he didn't, so it was pretty effective.
He's known to avoid abilities and also land his own. Multifaceted player, as we know.
Yep, very important for League of Legends. Zeus.
He wants to hurt the Scion.
He wants to get grasp stacks and not get too low, while also farming. And he knows that Keen doesn't necessarily have a bunch of kill pressure just yet, but Jovi's been angling topside a lot. Canyon's also been up here a little bit with the grubs and trying to make stuff happen.
I mean, if Zeus uses his hook shot again, he is in serious trouble. It looks like he is going to play respectfully now. This angle is so scary. Canyon stays. He's going to get the scuttle.
Yeah, not as much action in this game, too, as we had in Game 1. I think that HLE were very proactive in the plays they were making around Peanuts Poppy and the fact that they punished so early on in the bottom lane, so they were able to get a bigger lead. This time around, yes, they won at the level 1, but they only got the 1 kill, and since then the lanes have been going very well for the side of Gen G. So Gen G not in a big rush to do too much. They got the grubs, all 3 of them, and now they can try to maybe play for this next dragon. Even if they don't, it's not a huge deal. Let's see if they actually do that, as Delight doing a good job of clearing out all the vision here in the Tri-Brush. Lots of pings around this dragon.
Yeah, here comes Canyon, and Realm Warp is available for Chovy. Can join at a moment's notice.
I will say, Zeka has Malignant, which is such a huge spike, so it could be a bit precarious if they do opt to contest this.
Zeka, the flash forward, the engaged Renata might just get the job done. The aggression out of the side of HLE is perfect. As now Chovy on the edge of this Realm Warp, he does get away. And they still have the dragon leashed. This is going to be another dragon and a kill that goes over to HLE. They're playing this comp very well so far.
Infernal Soul, too, super valuable for the longevity of Final Life's comp. If they can pick it up, it is going to be huge for them. But, man, that was a really clutch engage there from Delight. The Fate's Call follow-up as well allows them to continue the pressure. They just instantly delete Canyon, prevent any sort of 50-50 on this, take the jungler out. As Canyon's kind of angling here for Zeka, right? But there's no vision in this brush. There's a control ward here, and he just flashes in for the double, point blank, and then the ult comes out from Peanut. Chovy, of course, having to Realm Warp away, very narrowly goes down himself. There's a really clutch play there from Hanwha Life, playing around vision. Renata engaging is not what you expect.
Just great layering a CC there. You know, knew what the goal was, took down Canyon, secured the dragon, 2 in the pocket, and that is a great win con for them as the game goes on. We saw how the Soul was a big factor in that previous match for them. So continuing that direction. It has definitely been a slower paced game, but, you know, just racking up those objectives can be a big win con as it plays out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty huge. And Zeus looks like he's able to stabilize up here on the top side. Neither top laner elected to try to join the fight. Zeus is pretty low, so it really was going to be, you know, the onus of the decision would have been on Keen if he wanted to go down, and then Zeus would have to make a decision on if he wanted to join or not.
Oh, he missed the cannon. He's trying to get the damage on Zeus. Yeah.
No cannon. Zeus slowly catching up. And that will become a problem in this game if Zeus can continue to come back here and Zeka can continue to make plays here on this Ahri. It's Jarvan also coming back into the meta. It's pretty interesting to see it already here in Game 2.
It's so punishing, right? I mean, if you land anything and the follow-up is there, that single target is going to be locked down. And of these champions, you know, Trundle's one of the best targets for that, actually, just simply because he doesn't really have any tools to escape or peel, especially when he drops his pillar onto an Ahri moments before. And so it was a good angle there. I'm really curious about how this game is going to play out when it comes to team fights when Gen G are all set up, when everybody's together, because that's where I think this composition really shines. You have the Rise to keep everyone at arm's length. Obviously, it's going to be really tough for Camille to engage into that back line with the Scion in the front line, with a Trundle there. And the Ezreal is just so mobile. It should be super far away, can play around poke. So this part was the part where Hanwha Life are supposed to be winning. This is the part where they're supposed to be getting advantages. The solo advantages, or the solo lane advantages for Gen G kept them even in this game. Hanwha looking for that third objective. I think that's where we're really going to see potentially the scales tip a little bit towards Gen G and see what their comp is capable of in a true 5v5.
You see HT leaning down towards Chovy. He's playing a little bit defensively here. Canyon's there to try and cover. And I think just not seeing anyone on the map, seeing the fact that bot lane went missing as well, will make HLE think again.
Yeah, definitely a decent angle, but not going to commit to the play. Do have this Rift Herald about to spawn here in about a minute. Do see Rulers doing a good job of pushing in the mid wave and putting on some pressure, but I do fear for Gen G if they do try to fight for some of these objectives a little bit too early, before the Rise is really online, before the Ezreal is really online. And that does mean that HLE might just get a monopoly on everything, especially with the Infernal Soul. If they get like the Rift Herald, throw it straight down into mid, and they're able to turn that into an Infernal Soul point. Yes, you know, this comp, it does have a little bit of longevity problems, but you've got a Camille, and if you are looking at nearly an Infernal Soul this early on in the game, Genji will be put on a clock a bit.
Yeah, and now Zeus has this Triforce, he's got his magical footwear, like he actually kind of can play against this Scion a little bit, you know, and continue to trade with him. It starts getting easier here. His Cull is almost cashed in, plus that initial kill he picked up earlier on makes him feel pretty comfortable soaring towards that mid-game, but no vision here for Hanwha Life just yet for this upcoming fight. And you can see Genji have a monopoly over it. Hanwha go for a reset and return. They're going to send Zeus to the bottom lane, though, without teleport, and that is as good as a give up on this objective, just simply going to concede it over to Genji.
The thing is, if you don't get the Herald, but you get the Dragon, I think HLA are completely fine with that. So, you know, maybe they forego the Herald, but just try and really aggressively play for Dragon control. If you look at the vision they have around the Dragon Pit, they're kind of telegraphing their intent here.
Yeah. The timing of this also allows for a little bit of push on the turret for Zeus as he goes down there, gets the wave prio. They have vision. Look at that full line of 3 wards from mid to Dragon, as well as the Tri-Brush control ward. There's now a replaced ward here for Delight over the wall behind the pit. So entry to this with Delight having ult as well, and his flashback up is going to be quite challenging here for Genji. And like you said, it's Soul Point for Infernal. And I mean, the Herald can get you maybe some prio in mid. I think that's what Genji are going to have to play through.
Yeah, I mean,
timing is rough. Like they're pretty late on this.
They're definitely trying to set up as much position here as Genji.
This feels a bit rushed now because look at Zeus' angle. There's wards behind as well for Zeka to TP to. It feels like Genji are in danger of being flanked here.
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, they're getting flanked right now, and the pillar's down. Here comes the TP. A lot of item spikes hit for the side of Viper, or rather HLE as well. And now Keen has to flash out already, as the sticks were in him from the Callista. Now trying to deal with Zeus, but that is a Camille who should be able to get away. Canyon needs to hit the smite or he's in a lot of trouble. Peanut going in, going out, and it's just going to be a straight up flip. It goes to the rise on the side of Genji, but now the fight is looking fantastic here for HLE. Zeus goes in, and he gets out just barely. They're trying to turn here on the Ruler, who's all by himself. Duro super low on the left side, and will be taken out, and the extensiveness of this Callista to play in these long fights will be huge. At least Chovy got the 1 kill, and Genji did get the kill on the Dragon. So it allows them to win that, but now HLE take a big fight.
It comes at such a heavy cost to deny Soul Point. The fight, brilliant there. Zeus also getting the ult, getting the kill on Canyon, the hook shot onto the pillar, and the flash out, doing it in style. Does ultimately go down, but it's a huge win here in terms of gold for Hanwha Life.
And bear in mind, Genji were lucky to get the Dragon. It was Rise who ended up securing it. This could have easily been an absolute disaster. We'll see how the fight ends up playing out, and they try to ult in on Zeus, who just deletes Canyon. Delight ends up very deep in the backline, but Ruler has to make this escape into the enemy jungle, and everyone is just sort of running away, trying to make their escapes. Keen gets left in the mixer. Chovy does take out the Camille as he's running away, but it's so clear that the goal from Genji was get the Dragon and get out, and they had no real plan for the fight afterwards.
And this means that
Chovy, he doesn't have his flash. He's in a bit of trouble here. Zeus and Peanut should be able to take him down, you'd imagine. The Flag Dragon's gonna miss. Chovy, they don't have the CC to take him out, and he gets away! They used the Flag Drag so early.
Yeah, and Chovy is aware of all the cooldowns and gets away there. It's gonna get the empowered recall home.
I was like, surely he's dead.
It seemed that way because his flash was down. Why? Because he flashed to kill Zeus in the previous fight there at the end. And it doesn't end up costing him. It's a small win, though. You know, when you look at the grand scheme of things of the snowballing Hanwha Life esports comp that has the lead, it's expected to have the 2-item Ahri. You're sitting on that Leandri is going to be able to help cut through the Scion. And if you start stacking up the Infernal Soul, obviously cutting through that Scion isn't going to necessarily be a big problem for this Ahri, especially with some of those additional AP stats you pick up for that 3rd Dragon, should they get it. But man, Genji, getting back into this one is going to take a lot of clutch. It's going to take a lot of setup, and I think they're going to once again have to play through vision and potentially catches here. But they don't have a comp that has a support that can look for that initial pick, that can look for that initial setup. And when you're behind, you know, I mentioned the Karma doesn't necessarily have that same hole, but when you are now having to be the one that engages on Hanwha Life and not the other way around, you do feel it a little bit.
I will say the big thing for me is we just got the Seraphs completed for Chovy. The Manamune's going to be finished soon for Ruler. I think that's a point where really things start to tip a bit more in Genji's favor. Rod of Ages, we're still a bit away from for Chovy, but I think those spikes coming in is even with the deficit in terms of gold, that's where Gen.G can sort of leverage. And you think dragons in 2 minutes, if they hadn't gotten that dragon, the game would be like over before they really got a chance to sort of play around those spikes. They've bought themselves time is the important thing, and I think getting that dragon was a really important factor in having that time to play around the spikes that composition needs.
Toby's Rod fairly late here. He'll finish in 25 minutes. Is going to give him a huge amount of experience as well. Could end up taking a level lead on Zeka in this one, or more than you normally would, especially if he ends up picking up the Otacon later on. Speaking of, they are grouped on it right now here on the top side of the map, and Zeus, no flash here, wants to hold the turret. I think he's just simply going to have to give this up, and it might not be all he gives.
It's pretty curious that the Otacon, it spawns on the top side of the map. We might get some big plays here. Zay's going to take a big chunk here from Toby, but yeah, they're just going to start it up, and there's no dragon to really trade for. That's really what's going to happen on this map is they have the damage with Ezreal Rise. They've hit their spikes, both the Ezreal and the Rise, so they have the damage to chunk down this one. Even the Rift Trail going to go top, so HLE, big onus on them to answer the call. Peanut goes in, and look at this! The Karma's already dead! As they commit to it, the resistances are up. Lunatica, he's dead at the same time, and it's just gonna be a flip here for the objective. Down goes Canyon, and it's a flip no more. Zeus 1v1ing Chovy, as he will have to realm more bow, but it goes over to the Jarvan, and HLE are taking everything. It's a triple kill on the backside of this fight for the Kalista, who has everything going for her.
I said they could play around the spikes. I think there was a little bit too much overconfidence in them. Starting up the Arakan, the shred that comes through, and it's just so well played by HLE. I love this play to Duro. The kind of Cataclysm in, flag and drag out, the lack of commit. I will say the turn on the Zek was beautiful from Keen, but it just feels like there wasn't that follow-through, there wasn't that plan. Canyon gets cleaned up, the skirmish is the reset that comes through. Viper just cleaning up members. Chovy has to dip, Keen goes down. And it feels like HLE never lost control.
Viper's the Eye of the Storm. He's perfectly positioned in the middle of everyone. Chovy can't access him because Zeus is blocking his entry there. Ruler can't hit him with damage either, and Viper's just a blender of damage into Gen.G in that setup. And they just don't attack the Otacon. They don't put Canyon in smite range until he's dead, or they don't put the Otacon in smite range until Canyon is dead. And now we're looking for a setup here on the Dragon. Gen.G definitely better grouped for this.
They're better grouped, but again, Zeus has got an angle. I mean, there's a lot of angles that HLE are coming in from. And Peanut's on the Dragon. They're looking for Toby in the front line. He's pretty tanky, but at the same time, that's going to be Peanut getting pretty low. But they already do take out Toby, and Peanut will take that trade every day of the week. And now this Kalista is just stomping through them once again. Double kill comes in, and the chase potential here from HLE is huge. Zeus once more. He's going to hold on top of Ruler, who does a bunch of damage and immediately dies. It is a second triple kill for Viper in this fight. In this game, Duro barely gets away, but HLE are taking everything on this map.
Viper's just dominating on this Kalista. They took the Trundle. They were like, we're confident. If you pick Kalista, the pillar will shut you down. It has done nothing. The hubris to leave this pick open. And Viper has proved it was such a mistake. He is just cleaning house over Gen.G.
I mean, you guys should probably tell from my attitude after the draft and what I thought I saw in the Hanwha Life players' eyes, their faces. I really thought this one was going to struggle if they didn't get a massive lead early. They got that first kill. The lane control still belonged to Gen.G, but it's these punishes from Hanwha in these fights. The Jarvan, the lack of respect on the engage range here. The fact that Zeus can follow up so easily, the fact that they can charm, and the coordination between Peanut and Zeka on these engages has been fantastic. Even Fate's Call being used as an additional form of engage here for Hanwha Life, as well as safety. This means this composition for them looks incredibly practiced, and perhaps I misjudged the draft. Perhaps, what looked like, we're just going to go Camille here. It was what I thought. It looked like a bit of a desperation pick. Maybe this is actually something that's super well coordinated, super well prepared for Hanwha Life, because that's what it's looking like to me right now in this second game, where they're poised to potentially go up to match point, 4,000 gold the lead. Yeah. But this Kalista is just too big to fail.
Too big to fail. I mean, 7-0 for Viper. You hit the nail on the head saying that he was the key player, Wolf, at the beginning of the day, because everybody wants to look at Zeus and he has, second most palm points and everything, but Viper is the guy in these big series that can really put the hurt into, especially when you disrespect him in the draft, as you were talking about, Ox and Wolf, as now Viper is going to get straight up ulted by a Scion. Not the best positioning, but nobody else is really able to join the fight here. They're trying to turn on to Zeka, but he is Ahri, and they don't really have the extension to do so. Zeka does get away, but Zeus, Zeka will actually go down. Now Zeus gets charmed here, and all of a sudden, Hanwha Life They're just going to get caught out in the mid lane. Now there's no... Well, actually, there's a Baron coming up in 15 seconds. Pillar not treating Peanut very well here at the same time. Will Gen G consider a 25-minute Baron to try to come back in this game? I do wonder.
I mean, there's no flash for Peanut, but he is Jarvan.
I think you have to do it. You know, you have the Pillar, which is a great way of keeping him out the pit. You have Ruler, who could even like threaten over the wall. Yeah. I think you're in a bad spot in this game. You go for it.
Yeah. You have so much Baron damage too.
I mean, there's no ults here for Hanwha Life. Like, how do they win a fight? They have to look for a steal, and that's all they've got. Peanut's on vision. Yeah. I think this is a secure, pretty easy.
They're gonna deal with Peanut. Yeah, he's just gonna be zoned away. Nicely done by Gen G here, looking for an angle back in this game where it looked extremely dire.
At this level, we're looking at the #1, #2 teams here in the LCK. The #1 and #2 potentially seeds for MSI. We're fighting for #1 right now, and a small mistake can mean everything, right? Can mean that you get the Baron, that you get back into the game. Hanwha Life's mistake here, I think, was turning what was a potential catch into a re-engage and a forced fight. And Zeka goes down here, Zeus goes back in weirdly, looking for a pick on the back line and just gets blown up. Hanwha had no business going in there. I think just cut your loss, Fate's call, walk away.
I mean, as much as, like, you know, we saw Keen go in solo and he's not able to kill Viper, he bought a lot of time.
Doing it again as Keen, I think you overstepped quite a bit on this one. They are going to get the turret, but now we got a charm here on a Ruler who has to get Mikhail's. And yeah, he's going to get away for now, but now Zeus is going in, and the chase potential of this comp here from HLE is huge. The charm goes in, catches Toby, and that might not...
Baron all washed away. Gen G get punished here in the mid lane. And man, Chovy played it so well. He's on the edge of the ultimate, and there's just too much CC. There's too many threats.
I'm just gonna say, I feel like there's been a lot of caster casing going on here. You know, we praise Viper.
We're so powerful.
We praise HLE. HLE ended up losing the fight. I was praising Keen. This happened, you know. But this was HLE punishing Gen G, overstepping with the Baron, and you just see the relentless engage tools that HLE have. You know, it's even with Delight not being on an engage support, he's making it work. The fact that he can be thrown in by Viper, the fact he has the hostile takeover, but it's the Camille, it's the Ari being able to go forwards.
They just had such a better angle on Chovy. The pivot there on the engage from Zeus to decide to ult Chovy instead of looking for the chase on Ruler, who spaced his way away with the Mikhail's already out. You know, then you just go CC after CC after CC, and Chovy is out of the fight, had his Zonias, but just couldn't use it until it was far too late because of the CC. Hanwha Life now looking for their second opportunity to get this Infernal Soul, and they have so much control. Keen TP's in.
Chovy in a lot of trouble here. 4 seconds until the Hextech ultimatum, and Peanut's going to keep him around in time. And now Chovy, he's got a shield, and a Zonia's might be enough. But here comes the Ari, and Chovy's going to go down, and that is a massive pick before it even begins. It's Canyon! He's running straight at the Kalista. Viper is a menace right now on this pick as Zeka goes in, hits another charm, and there's nothing that Gen G can do. Tons of damage does go into the Scion. It looks like he might barely get away, as now Ruler trying to bring this one back, but the light is over the wall. He is going to miss the handshake, but they just have way too many tools, as we have said so many times, and HLE, they take the fight, and they will be getting this Infernal Soul.
I think trying to greed for Keen here is not the right call from Zeus. He will back away as this turret gets pressured. But that's all Gen G get is a consolation inner. I mean, that's some gold, that's some relevance, but you're now fighting into Infernal Soul for the rest of the game.
And Chovy's overextended here, finding a great angle. They're setting up for the Dragon, but they find a way in on Chovy. Tries to get away, uses the flash, uses the Zonias, but it's not enough with the rest of HLE moving down. And you know, I think game one was a close game. Either team could have won. It came down to a matter of inches. But in this game, the gap is large. It feels like HLE are miles ahead in terms of the execution, in terms of the advantages they're finding. And it feels like Gen G are kind of scrambling. There are brief moments where it looks like Gen G have the cohesion, but for the majority, it's HLE on the same page. And they're just picking them apart.
We talked about the archetypes earlier, you know, the dive and the front to back. You know, Gen G kind of have this front to back where they have this insanely scaling mid laner, does a ton of damage. And basically an AP carry, a safe carry here for Ruler on the Ezreal in the front line. But HLE just don't care. They will find and isolate any target, and they're so far ahead. Even the Scion could be a victim. The Trundle has been punished so many times, 6 in fact, to be exact here, and Hanwha Life just have no mercy in this second game.
Yeah, the Trenel has done absolutely nothing. Keep in mind it was their first pick, and they tried to craft a comp around it, but HLE saw it, and they just bopped it on the head with a giant red hammer. And there's not really anything that Gen G have been able to do in this game from minute one. Now, there's still a chance, but it doesn't feel very likely when you've got this Kalista who is 9-0, looking for the first defensive item on top of the Terminus, and he's got a Renata, he's got the Knight's Vow, he has Redemption on top of it, Barrier. He's got a team that will be able to set up fights for him. Nobody is touching this Kalista in this game, and you gave over Kalista Renata in the draft, and Hanwha Life laughed at you.
And I thought
he can take you out.
I thought the trade-off wasn't necessarily going to be worth it, but with the execution this clean from Hanwha, with the coordination that's this good, and the clutch in the fights is this good, then yeah, you can just take that early game lead and run with it for the entire game.
We've seen so many Kalista games where she does like 7k damage, but she still felt like she did a lot for the team. Viper has 32,000 damage, the most by far out of anybody in this game.
And you know what? HLE banned Kalista on red side when Talia and Poppy were in the mix. It feels like they respected the pick so much more because, you know, those picks are so effective into it. Despite them being open, they were like, no, we don't want to see Ruler playing it. We think the pick is too powerful. And I think Gen G just didn't rank it as highly. They thought we can answer, we can deal with it. And I think the evidence is in front of us. You know, clearly players like Viper, just you have to respect a pick like Kalista. Even with what Gen G thought was enough, it wasn't.
Especially with Renata open. I mean, there was just a lot given over. And now HLE with Infernal Soul looking for the Baron. And I mean, they have the super fed Kalista. They can do it in about 10 seconds. I wouldn't even be surprised. So Gen G, they have to move forward. They have to try to charge into a team that's very far ahead of them, that has objectives over them. Not to mention the Otacon, which Gen G also desperately tried to take earlier and got punished for.
I mean, Zeus' items right now, these 3 items make it so easy to just go in. Like, you can commit, you will get tons of value even if you die with this setup. And, I mean, now we're just turning our eyes towards Baron here. As you can see, Gen G nothing. They can't see anything. So you have to be incredibly cautious, and I think when we toggle the vision, it's
gone. The objective is gone. We talked about the Baron damage. It's gone. Canyon, either he flashes in and dies. He is going to get, he can't get it. There's just no way. And they don't even bother turning onto him because they know they can do it later. As, okay, big slam. That is going to force the follow-up there with the Fate's Call, but now they get into the backline of Ruler, nowhere for him to go! And HLE take their wallets and they bash them over the heads with it, as down goes Keen as well. And Viper is legendary in this game. Nobody can handle him with this many tools on the roster, and also Zeka did 6k damage in that.
This is something else. When we saw these teams match up last few times in best of fives, yes, Hanwha was the victor, but it was a lot closer. The first time they won in LCK Summer, it was a big upset. We were like, okay, Hanwha, a new challenger, a new champion, but this time they just look like they are way more prepared than Gen G.
They're making Gen G look like they are not the ones that were undefeated. HLE look like they are not to be stopped today as their stand-in GM celebrates alongside of them. HLE are just better when it comes to best of fives.
The predictions were so heavily in favor of Gen G, but when we discussed it, it was like, look, if it goes to 5 games, that's where we can give the edge to HLE. Even the one predictor of HLE, Jonah Strong, it was 3-2 to HLE. And now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, can Gen G win a game?
And it's just those types of expectation break.
Ready to explore? Get up to 10% off your next adventure on the Klook app. Unlock exclusive deals.
Very challenging, very difficult to play out, and they make it work. They were able to do it. Viper, 37,000, over 1k DPM on this Kalista pick after having an incredible Varus game just moments before. Hanwha Life now poised to once again be the first seed. They were our first stand representatives. They are first stand champions, defending LCK champions, and now one game away from saying this is the best Korea has to offer.
Last 2 times they had best of fives, Gen G were able to win game 2, and